Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
Oh, are we on? Sorry. I was just watching the greatest video online, and we're a little early. Oh, hello. If I could hear music in my ears, that might. Oh, there it is. See, if I hear the music, I know I'm supposed to go. If I don't hear the music, I know nothing. Julie, help me out here. It's 7:06.
Yeah, 7:06.
We had a late night last night. I was watching the end of the Rangers-Giants game yesterday. It was amazing. I'm doing show prep here. I'm working. And they won on a walk-off, what should have been a ground-out to first, but ended up being an inside-the-park home run because of comical fielding.
I have no idea what that means.
Coming up in 30 minutes, we'll talk to Sean Spicer. Oh, and later we're going to talk sports. You're going to love that part, Julie.
Great.
At 8:05, Ed Morrissey on the Vatican. At 8:35, Trevor Maddich on the Commanders. That's Julie Gunlock. I'm Larry O'Connor. And here's Joe DiGenova. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Larry.
That makes me happy.
Happy Monday.
Good morning. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Yes, we're here. Thank you.
Yes.
Joe,
this is like the end of the. I just want to say one thing, Larry. This is a post-pontifical event. I wanted to just say that as we watched the Pope funeral, I was struck by one thing.
Yeah.
It was all done in Latin. And for the Pope who destroyed the Latin Mass, what a fitting farewell.
I found that rather ironic as well.
Odd. Yeah.
Couldn't do no Novus Ordo here. No, sir, no vernacular here. We're going full Latin. Yeah, he would not have approved. Hey, Joe, speaking of not approving, I am told that it is absolutely a constitutional crisis to arrest a judge. Although that, if you sort of like peel it back a little bit and say, well, what did the judge do to get arrested? Turns out it seems like this judge should have been arrested in Wisconsin.
Yeah, well, Judge Hannah Dugan, and we really got to make sure we remember her name. She's part of history now. Judge Hannah Dugan is in the middle of a state judicial proceeding with the victims of domestic violence in front of her, along with the prosecutor, the witnesses, the police officers involved in the case. She finds out that there are federal agents legally in the courthouse outside, a group of 6 of them, a 7th that she didn't recognize. She leaves the bench. Walks out into the hallway in front of her courtroom, berates the federal officers, tells them to leave. They say, no, we're not going to leave. We have a warrant. She says, is it a judicial warrant? They said, no, it's an administrative warrant enforceable under federal law. She says, go see my chief judge. They do that, but they leave behind one person that she doesn't recognize, a DEA agent who follows her and watches her in the courtroom and sees her take the defendant and his lawyer into her chambers and then out a back door from her chambers into a non-public area so that they can escape.
Amazing.
Now, the bottom line here is this judge is unfit for duty. She should be removed immediately from judicial service. She should not be allowed back on the bench. And what does all this mean? We are in the midst of a civil war. Whether anybody likes it or not, this is a civil war. And this judge is on the front lines of that civil war. There are people in this country who hate Donald Trump, who hate the United States, who love illegal immigration. And what they are doing is they are obstructing federal law enforcement. She got exactly what she deserved, and I hope she gets some prison time.
I have a question. Should there be a review of her cases, of the cases that have come before her, if she is willing to break the law and release this man? I felt like I was watching Special Victims Unit when I listened to the facts of this case. It's pretty astonishing what she did. But should there be a review of the other cases that she's heard?
There is no question there should be, and there will not be such a review. These local cases in Wisconsin is a crazy place now. I mean, they are absolutely nuts out there. It's just like Minnesota. It's another country. This is fascinating. This is anarchy. It is a civil war. It is law versus law. It's law in quotes versus the real law. And what bothers me about this, too, is that it's all over the country. It's not just in Wisconsin and Minnesota and places like that. So what happens when people like this, let's say this judge is just a citizen, and she gets on a jury. What does she do on a jury? The answer is she nullifies. She fights the government. She denies people in court their rights. This is rampant all over the country, and both federal and state judges are not doing a good job of vetting people who sit on juries. Believe me, this is rampant in society. Try to get a fair trial in the District of Columbia if you're a conservative or a Republican. And do you think the judges, federal and local, vet jurors that way? They do not. This judge is a disgrace. She should be in prison. And I really hope they don't try to work out some sort of a diversion on this. I hope they throw the book at her.
I agree. You know, Joe, and that is an unspoken, we've talked about this over the years, but it is an unspoken scandal in this country about what happens in these local jurisdictions, I was involved in a civil case that had political ramifications and free speech, freedom of the press ramifications. Mm-hmm. The truth was on my side. The facts were on my side. And my lawyers and the insurance company who covered it said, Larry, it does not matter. You will not win in Washington, D.C. Bottom line, just because of the jury pool. I said, but it's the truth. It doesn't matter what the truth is. You will not win. You touched on something here, Joe, that I think needs to be delved into, because the media is they're either ignorant or they're lying, probably both. The difference between a criminal arrest warrant versus a deportation order. This is what this judge was trying to say. For instance, here's a headline about Mahmoud Khalil. This is the guy who overstayed his student visa, was in the country illegally, and then was organizing pro-Hamas protests in Colombia. The headline from ABC News, ICE did not have a warrant when agents detained Mahmoud Khalil, according to a court filing. That sounds bad. But they didn't need a criminal arrest warrant in this case, did they, Joe?
No, he's illegally in the country. He was violating orders. He had violated his stand. The Secretary of State had determined that his presence in the country was no longer in the interest of the United States foreign policy. They did not need a judicial warrant.
No warrant needed.
No, they have administrative warrants. They have a declaration from the Secretary of State. That's all they need. So, of course, you see, the media is complicit in this. It's like watching Kristen Welker, talk to Marco Rubio and ask these idiotic questions. They know the answers to their questions. This is designed to dissemble and to misinform the American public. Scott Pelley can complain all he wants about what Paramount did to save their deal. Guess what? That's who you work for, pal. They're the people that pay your check. If you don't like what Paramount's doing, resign.
That's right.
Be a brave guy. Quit.
Right.
You watch. Scott Pelley will not quit.
Giuseppe DiGenova, I would be remiss if I'd not get your immediate reaction to President Trump's announcement that Christopher Columbus Day is back from the ashes, as he put it. But not only that, he said it's going to make a major comeback. Are you going to be the Grand Marshal? Tell me about Columbus Day finally returning where it belongs.
Well, this is the restoration of reality and of great men and women in history. All this nonsense about Christopher Columbus, what people don't remember is when Christopher Columbus arrived, the natives were cannibals. They were eating each other in these tribes. So all this nonsense, and by the way, they were taking other tribes as slaves. Christopher Columbus introduced nothing but Western culture to this country, and we're better off for it. And I always remember that the reason we have Columbus Day as a national holiday was because in the 1890s, a group of Italian Americans were lynched in New Orleans, Louisiana, and that created Columbus Day as a reaction from the country to those acts of violence. So bravo, President Trump, another great victory for history and the restoration of honest history, not fake history.
Thank you, Joe. Always great to talk to you, my friend. What a news cycle. Thanks for joining us.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
What happens if they hold a White House Correspondents' Dinner and nobody cares and nobody comes? I feel hesitant to even comment on this story since it was such a nothing burger, but it was actually quite entertaining to see the media continue to take themselves so seriously.
Yeah.
And so sanctimoniously. ABC News headline. Listen to how ABC News described it. There was no president. There was no comedian. What remained at the White House Correspondents Association's annual dinner on Saturday night were the journalists and the First Amendment.
Of course. Oh. Yeah. Yes.
Trust me, we had much more journalism at the Free Speech Forum last night at the Birdschmear with our listeners, and we had a lot more fun too.
Well, we were honest about our perspectives. We don't try to hide it.
They literally gave an. If you could make this up, you wouldn't make it up as embarrassingly just. I'm sorry, I'm at a loss for words.
I know.
How dumbfoundingly unself-aware this is. But they gave an award to Alex Thompson of Axios for his dogged coverage of the decline of Joe Biden in the White House and the White House staff cover-up of it.
Yeah,
I kid you not.
Well, look, let's count our blessings. I thought they were going to give it to Tapper. Okay, so at least. And I will say Alex Thompson has been slightly more critical of the media. Okay, fine.
We'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Here's Kristen Welker of Meet the Press introducing the award and the courage it took to cover this story. Listen.
The award was established in 1981 to recognize a correspondent who personifies the journalistic excellence and personal qualities of Aldo Beckman. Impartiality,
I'm sorry I said anything
integrity, and a deep knowledge of the presidency. The award also includes a prize of $2,500.
Hey now, that'll buy you a dinner.
This year's award goes to Alex Thompson of Axios. The judges said Thompson's aggressive reporting on President Biden, especially leading up to and after the Trump-Biden debate, revealed the president's cognitive decline was impacting his ability to do his job, information the White House tried to conceal.
Ladies and gentlemen, the White House tried to conceal.
Based on that criteria, we should have won that award.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I take it back.
By the way, Kristen Welker's NBC News, right? I've got a headline from NBC News in June. Misleading GOP videos of Biden are going viral, and the fact checks have trouble keeping up. NBC News. This is Kristen Welker of NBC News giving out the award for this, and she participated in the cover-up.
Absolutely, in this cover-up. Everyone in that room participated in that. Well, pretty much everyone in that room participated.
By the way, you heard her say that this is for his reporting leading up to the debate well as after the debate. I did a deep dive on Alex Thompson's Axios byline on his coverage of Joe Biden's decline leading up to the debate. Understand, at the debate, everyone in the world saw it, okay?
They could no longer
covering the story after the debate is like your father yelling at the television covered it the same way, okay? Right. So here is the extent of Alex Thompson's coverage at Axios about the decline of Joe Biden. Fall 2023, Thompson reports on Biden wearing special sneakers to prevent tripping when walking to Marine One, which, by the way, we also covered. You know why we covered it? Because we saw the video of him wearing special sneakers. And early 2024, Thompson noticed Biden's public schedule was tightly controlled. No events before 10 a.m. or after 4 p.m. We were making fun of when they would call a lid on his event during the campaign, let alone his light schedule all through the presidency. But this is award-winning journalism. Also in early 24, Biden's advance team used large print signs at public events, an unusual step suggesting he might struggle with standard event cues. We were making fun of the cue cards. We were making fun of the arrows and where he had to scan. And here's the other thing. He got an award from all these other reporters who saw the exact same thing.
That's right.
But never covered it. All right.
That's right.
So you wanted to give him a little credit, and you're right. Here's what he said that gives him a little credit, I suppose. Cut 16. Go ahead.
One serious note. To my bones, I believe that reporting and the White House Correspondents Association is as necessary as ever. President Biden's decline and its cover-up by the people around him is a reminder that every White House, regardless of party, is capable of deception.
See,
Yeah.
But being truth tellers also means telling the truth about ourselves. We, myself included, missed a lot of this story.
Yeah.
Missed
But
a lot.
by my book,
missed a lot.
we missed a lot. Yeah.
Well,
no,
also
they
you can.
ignored it.
I actually noted also, if you continue that clip, you can hear that at some point the audience applauds. It is the weakest,
There's
most
12
scattered. There's like 12 people applauding.
Right.
And it was funny because I think they cut to April Ryan, maybe, and she
Yes.
immediately grabs her drink.
Yeah,
Doesn't
she looked
applaud.
like she
She's
sucked
drinking.
on a sour lemon.
Yeah.
The president of the White House Correspondents Association, Eugene Daniels, who had been at Politico, was up for being Kamala Harris's press secretary had she won, and now has negotiated a new deal with MSNBC. Here's his sanctimonious speech, cut 18.
As you all know, every year we invite the president to this dinner. For decades, presidents on both sides of the political spectrum get gussied up and join us.
Gussied.
I want to be clear about something. We don't invite presidents of the United States to this because it's for them. We don't invite them because we want to cozy up to them or curry favor. We don't only extend invites to the presidents who say they love journalists or who say they are defenders of the First Amendment and a free press. We invite them to remind them that they should be. We invite them to demonstrate that those of us who have chosen the public service of journalism aren't doing it because we love lights on Air Force.
Enough.
I can't deal.
I'm sorry, public service?
Service.
Public
Like he's a
service?
first responder.
Right. Oh, next time he's up for a contract negotiation at NBC News, I hope whoever's on the other side of the table is saying, "Why are you asking for more money? This is a public service. It's just a public service, pal."
These people are so disgusting. They're so smug. They've learned nothing. And I actually wrote that in a tweet. I said, from the applause, which was 12 people, and April Ryan, going in for a shot. I mean, you know they're not going to change. And this is great because nobody's watching CNN. The latest polls are out, or the latest data's out. No one's watching this mainstream.
Yes.
God bless for alternative forms of media.
They're going to go down with the ship. That's why. By the way, we don't invite a president because it's for them. It's to no. They invite the president because then they can get more money from their corporate sponsors.
That's right.
That's why they invite the president, and that's why he's so bitter. All right, coming up in just 10 minutes, we're going to talk to Sean Spicer. He's got plenty to say about the White House Correspondents Association and more in a moment.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It is 7:37 on O'Connor and Company. Coming up at 8:05, we're going to check in with our buddy Ed Morrissey of Hot Air for the Pope's funeral from Saturday, as well as looking forward to the conclave that should assemble in, 7 days, I think, is the plan?
Yeah, I think that's
8:35,
right.
Trevor Maddich, Commanders analyst on the NFL Draft. Good morning, Julie Gunlock.
Good morning.
It was a beautiful ceremonial funeral, by the way. The paper. Did you attend? Did you watch any of the papal mass and all the pageantry and all the?
I was in and out, but I saw a little bit of it. It was really amazing. As
really
usual.
something else.
Yeah.
And again, I think Joe DiGenova sort of pointed out the irony there of the of all that Latin for a pope who's one of the top 5 headlines coming out of his pontificate was his crackdown on the Latin Mass for the rest of us normies.
Yep.
It's one of those things that I hope the new pontiff will address.
Well, we did go to Latin Mass on Sunday before the Free Speech Forum. So we try to hit the Latin Mass as much as we can.
Can I just say, and I know that this cuts into my conservative cred with the kids. I'm not a big fan of the Latin. I'm sorry. It's lovely to listen to, but it's harder to participate.
It is. I get it.
And
I mean, we are generation post Vatican II, so we're not.
We are
used to that.
I'm like it.
But
when the Novus Ordo is done in a which is the ordinary mass, when it's done in a respectful and solemn and holy way, it's beautiful. You don't need the Latin for it to be timeless and beautiful.
I sort of grew up in a rock and roll Catholic church. The 70s and 80s, they were not fun.
Not
okay,
good at all.
and
some of
so
that music sounds like it's from HR Puff and stuff.
I go to a church where women veil, so
yeah,
I
know.
love it,
and it's
really
the
love
young
it.
women.
Yes,
it's the young girls.
Yes,
I know.
all baby on their hip. It's wonderful.
So on Saturday, and this is honestly, this is sort of the state of the church right now in America and how it relates to what we're expecting to be an extraordinary historic moment as a new pope is elected. Where are we in America? Well, right now, young people is a huge movement toward the tradition in America. And I think you're right. I think it's partly they love Jesus, they love the church, but when they sit, all for the last 20 years as we were bringing them to church, they were listening to music and watching sort of the rites and rituals of our Mass performed in sort of a superficial and contemporary way. And there is something timeless about a 2,000-year-old church. Maybe the ceremonies should feel timeless. So that being said, my daughter is one of those very traditional Catholics. Her fiance is also one of those very traditional Catholics. The wedding is this Saturday. So this weekend on Saturday, 1 week before the wedding, we were having sort of our final big group meeting with all the parents, and there's a lot of them because of step-parents and stuff. All the parents and the bridesmaid, which is my other daughter, and the bride and groom. We had a big Zoom meeting because we're all over the country. And as we were breaking down this Mass, it's going to be, I got to brush up my Latin, man. They have injected Latin all through this thing.
Well, when you get married in the Catholic Church, you generally have a Mass.
Yes.
And I was so happy that people got to stare at my dress that long. I was not to be shallow, but let me just be shallow for a minute.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but we didn't have Latin in our Mass, so that's wonderful.
I'm not allowed to see the dress until about an hour beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I'll see it. And, of course, the groom will not see it until the moment we start walking down the aisle of the Basilica. We're getting married at a Basilica in San Juan Capistrano. And but
I can't wait for the pictures of this. I cannot wait. And I have seen Meredith's dress. Have you seen Meredith's dress?
I have seen.
You've seen that one.
Yes.
Okay.
I have seen Meredith's dress. And
beautiful.
She's
going to look stunning.
She's the mother of the bride. There's obviously some competition there.
Yeah, a little it's dress.
But I was like, why are we wasting money on a dress? Just wear your uniform. It's white. What's the problem?
You're ridiculous.
I got yelled at for that.
Yeah, of course. My God.
But it's going to be so. All of the bridesmaids, the women standing up with Veronica, are all naval officers. One of them is still a midshipman. She commissions this year. So
are they wearing their uniforms?
Yes.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Well, yes and no. Not for the ceremony. Let me explain. So they're all in the Navy, and then all of the men standing up are Marine Corps officers.
Oh.
They will be dressed in their dress blues for the Marines.
Gorgeous.
The women will be wearing dresses for the ceremony. Then they change into their uniforms. And they're going to do a Navy Marine Corps sword arch, where
gosh.
The officers will all have their swords, and then the bride and groom will come down under the swords. And then traditionally, usually it's like all the dudes then welcome the bride to the Marines or welcome the bride to the Navy. So they're going to welcome the bride to the Marines, and then the ladies will welcome the groom to the Navy.
Oh, how
so
lovely.
We're doing that. And then everyone's going to change again for the party. There's a lot of costume changes in this. We've had to get local 768 of the wardrobe unit. Yeah, no, it's a big theatrical affair. But I'm heading out for the wedding later today. So this is like I'm on the verge here, Julie, and so I'm getting the Latin ready. It's going to be a beautiful Mass. It's going to be a great party, and I'm going to be a complete mess.
Yes, you are. Yes, and that's okay. But I'm glad you're taking a little time, and you're going to sleep in a little bit and be ready. You need to be ready. So this will be great.
I will. And actually, it's interesting. Being Catholic and having the absence of a pope is actually kind of an interesting development as you move toward this major event in our lives, and knowing sort of the uncertainty about the direction of the church. Obviously, the church has been pretty stalwart for 2,000 years now. There's not a whole lot of change, but a pope does set the tone. And Francis certainly did, and in a moment we'll reflect on that funeral and, most importantly, what Melania was wearing, because boy, did she look absolutely perfection.
Unbelievable. Yep.
And really represented our nation well. We'll get to that in a moment. It's 7:44. So, I mean, again, she wasn't there as a fashion icon. She was there to mourn the Pope as a devout Catholic. She was there to represent the United States as the First Lady and accompanying her husband, the President. But Melania Trump looked absolutely stunning. I mean, from head to toe with the black lace veil. Everything about how Melania Trump presented herself was just incredibly poised, stoic, beautiful, and absolutely perfection for the occasion. I raise this because, Julie, I know that you had once in a while some minor criticism of our former First Lady and the way she presented herself publicly.
I did. She dressed like she had ripped the upholstery off couches. And I was always thinking of Carol Burnett descending the stairs in the curtains. Although, I mean, Carol Burnett looked sort of relatively classy compared to, because those green velvet curtains that Carol Burnett wore were not colorful enough. Jill always seemed to come out looking like Minecraft. Yeah. So, and again, chintz couches. So yeah, although I will say for the funeral, she just wore a simple black dress with gold buttons. So good for Jill. But my goodness, it is tough to compete with someone like Melania Trump. She is just gorgeous, totally iconic. Yeah,
Joe Biden also needed help going down a series of steps, but these are like these long. It's not like it was a big staircase. These are just like sort of long with a rise of like 3 inches. With the long tread there, but he couldn't quite manage it, so he had a cardinal helping him down the stairs.
Yeah.
There was also some like minor controversy that was created over the fact that President Trump wore a blue suit. There were fake headlines that said everyone was asked to wear black, but Trump wore blue. Well, actually, there's a ton of people in the picture wearing blue.
Prince William.
Including Prince William. But they cropped the picture to make it look like it was only Trump isolated wearing blue. But if you actually zoom out in the same photograph,
lots of blue.
Lots of blue. It's just, they just can't help themselves. Ed Morrissey covered the funeral proceedings. He'll be joining us at 8:05 to talk about that as well as the conclave. Right now it's 7:52.
Coming up, we'll talk to Ed Morrissey with Hot Air about the Pope's funeral, and then Sean Spicer on the cringe-worthy White House Correspondents' Dinner. Keep it here. It's 8 o'clock.